How good is this? Gordon and Sally, they set me up. I have my own room. They fed me. They picked me up. They washed my clothes. They did everything. They gave me a shower. They don't even know the guy who knows the guy who knows them, who I know. And I can finally sleep in a soft bed before I start paddling tomorrow. Well, here we are, Traralgon Station. I'm about to get on the train, get to Bairnsdale to get the kayak. It's pretty warm and windy today. It's total fire ban across the state. It's a good one to be training. Just had lunch with Sally. Delightful. She's such a lovely woman. And her husband, Gordon. Don't know what I would have done without them. It's just put me in such high spirits. And I can't wait to see what the next bit of the journey brings. I'm just looking forward to it. This is a great way to travel. Despite the looks you get at JB Hi-Fi when you buy an SD card and they go, "Where have you come from?" And you go, "Melbourne." And they go, "How long did it take you to get here?" And I go, "Well, I walked. It took 5 days, plus they picked me up." And they go, "Oh, I wouldn't worry about that."
Straight off the train, my mate Andy picks me up in Bairnsdale, shows me the basics of his kayak, and sends me down the Mitchell River. A joyful finish to my day 6.
I can barely believe it. Andy really came through. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to rent one of these. I can't afford to own one. And he's just a stand-up guy, and he loves the outdoors, and he wants to help other people do what they're trying to do. You know, and all these people that have helped me so far are so humble. Kev, Sowney, Gordon, Andy, all of them have declined to be on camera, and that's completely fine. They just want to help people do what they're trying to do. All right, let's do it. Day 2 of the water level. Now, as you can see, the river this morning is a mill pond. This is good. This is a good morning. With my train trip yesterday, even the walk down into Traralgon, and now this paddle, I'm deep in the heart of Gunai country. And between Traralgon and Bairnsdale, much of it is pasture, but here it becomes a land of lakes and rivers that open onto this ocean. And there's a real sense of adventure. This just kicked in again for me in a new way. I've never paddled this sort of distance over this sort of water. This is just the best. This is what I wanted.
After a brief stop for lunch, I set my eyes on the far side of the lake system and prepared for the first time to cross open water.
Yes! This is what it's all about. Yes, sir! We're kayaking now. Yes! Woo! These aren't even big waves. I'm just having such a good time. I gotta be careful though, this camera's not waterproof. Not at all. I don't really know which part of this bunga arm system I'm heading for. It's hard to judge. It all kind of looks the same. Where am I? But now, the more pressing problem is, where does a man go to do his number 2s in a place like this? It almost seems improper. In some way desecrating. But it must be done. The journey must continue. just saw a white-bellied sea eagle. I did a project on those when I was 8 in school. I've never seen one until today. I think it's time for a swim. The plan for today is to keep paddling up this arm of water until I reach its end, and then I don't quite know. It doesn't quite meet either the ocean or the lake system that puts out into Lake's entrance. And Andy and I were discussing it. He thinks I can probably take the kayak over. It's not a light boat, but it is a one-person lift. I'll probably have to come back for my gear and do 2 trips. I'm supposed to be meeting with Juliet and Annie tomorrow. Because this is an experiment, I was worried about getting lonely. And while I'd rather they didn't drive out to see me, I wasn't sure how I'd be doing after more than a week of not really being around anyone I know well, and for a lot of the days, not really being around anyone at all. This is not an up and back paddle. This is not strictly recreation. I am enjoying myself immensely, but I'm also going somewhere. All right, let's go see what we can see.
What I could see were 2 options. Option 1 was to force my way with the kayak through a tea tree wood to my left in order to re-access the main lake system. A destructive and difficult path, but a safer paddle. Option 2 was to paddle back down the Bunga Arm, climb a small sand dune and attempt to paddle beyond the breakers of Bass Strait. A shorter distance to water, but a far more dangerous paddle.
This was not the plan, but we're gonna have to paddle the sea. It is a sea kayak after all. I'm pretty scared of open sea kayaking. Once you get out past the waves, it should be okay. And if you fall in during the waves, you'll just get washed back to shore. Probably. I've got my emergency beacon in my life jacket pocket. Worst case scenario, I die. Second worst case scenario, I fall in and lose some of my stuff. But the other scenarios are quite good. My mum, who tries not to worry about me, gave me one bit of advice on this trip. She said, look, everybody dies sometime. Just don't die stupid.
If I'd had any experience sea kayaking before, I probably would have thought little of it. But attempting to get through the breakers on my own, and for the first time, with a very heavily laden boat, was a scary prospect. All I knew is I had to stay straight facing the waves, paddle hard, and hope not to break my neck if I rolled in the shallows.
Okay. tried. I barely made it anywhere. I got tumbled twice. I just don't have the experience, and it's too rough, and I've got no one to help me. I'm soaked. Well, I'm not gonna die stupid. Not today. So now I face this long walk up the beach, dragging the kayak and all my gear. Tow, tow, tow your boat slowly down the beach. I'm no good at being an ox. Ship's log. Been wandering these deserted beaches for some time now. No sight of another person, friendly or unfriendly, having been cast out by my cruel and faithless mistress, the sea. Just met some folks who put their dogs on the lead because they thought I was the ranger. They did tell me that it's only about 500 meters to Lake's entrance. Only problem is, the guy said there's a 12-knot outward going tide.
But not only did those folks tell me how to get into Lake's entrance, they insisted on helping drag the kayak to the local jetty, made sure I was okay, and gave me something to drink.
Yes. So glad I met you guys. That was probably, so far, the scariest moment of this trip. It was when those waves put you side on and roll you, and you realize you have no idea what you're doing. And that the sea will take no prisoners with you. Well, here we are outside the Lake's entrance police station. As I was returning the kayak to Andy at the ambulance place where he was going to pick it up, I had to leave my stuff somewhere because I couldn't carry the kayak and my stuff, and I just stashed it wherever I could find. And it turned out to be not a very good hiding spot because someone found it. I'm sizing up the bushes over the river, looking at which ones look the warmest or the least cold, because I had the shirt on my back, my phone, my wallet, and a bunch of food. And that was it. Everything I had, including this camera, I thought was gone for good. And so Andy, champ that he is, rang around. Turned out his friend Maria and her husband and their little boy James put me up for the night. And her husband Greg used to track and hunt poachers in Zimbabwe, among other things. And so he has all this gear that these days isn't doing anything. And so he just gave it to me, lent it to me, whatever it took to get me back on the road. It was surreal. And so here I am, almost 24 hours later, with all my stuff again.
So how'd I get my stuff back? Well, in the hour I was gone, some well-meaning stranger saw it, thought it had been abandoned, and handed it in to the police. But it meant for me that I got back to find nothing but a garbage bag flapping in the wind, where I'd left everything I had. I thought it had been stolen. Turns out the police had it the whole time.
So my relief is palpable. So Annie and Jules are on their way, but I said yesterday I didn't know if I'd be glad to see them. Today I will certainly be glad to see them. Oh my, what a wild ride. I can barely believe it.
Next time on my slow travel experiment.
So many!
My whole cloud. It's desolate and beautiful here. Hunched, bent trees, tussock scrub. What a marvelous spot in the world. That appears to be a bushfire. I'm cold. I'm wet. And I'm scared.